Hey strangers, welcome to the 7th episode of The Strange Sessions. I am Kurt.
I'm Krista.
And we are here in beautiful downtown Batavia.
The booming metropolis.
Oh, the traffic getting here was horrible.
I saw like
there was
a car.
tractor. There was a tractor on the road.
It's actually a really beautiful drive.
It is a really beautiful drive. I actually kind of look forward to this. It's like
I
an
do
hour
too.
drive for me to get from Manitowoc to here.
But this half of the drive is probably all Kettle Moraine. It's that all the hills and the woods. That's Kettle Moraine area. Yeah, it's really pretty.
I get fields on either side of me and lots of clouds. But I'm okay with that.
So what do we have for housekeeping?
I believe there was another new sighting of the Mothman in Chicago.
Okay.
But it was only from one source. I could only find it from one source.
Okay.
But it was everybody taking it from that one source. So who knows?
Right.
I don't know.
Could be a wacko.
Could be a wacko. Could be
wackadoo.
somebody wanting attention. Or it could really be something there.
Somebody saw something. I also have, did you see, we posted on Facebook that in Sheboygan Falls, their police were called for a UFO sighting.
Yeah. I wonder what that's about.
It was on the scanner, Sheboygan Scanner website, so I was waiting. I was combing through the comments today to see if anybody followed up
Nobody
on that,
said
but I
anything
didn't.
more
No,
about
I
that?
didn't see anything, and I tried Googling it, and there wasn't anything on it. So
I just wonder what that was about.
I know, strange. Who knows?
But we also got a lot of good feedback on our last episode about Missing 411. A lot of people really liked that show.
I feel like I could talk about it for days.
Yeah, and some of our listeners want us to do another show talking about more of the stories, so we can do that.
Yeah. I also, on YouTube, there is a video, quote-unquote video. It's 24 hours of David Paulides interviews. And it can get a little bit redundant, but it's really cool because at some point he talks about Elisa Lam and the just strange circumstances surrounding her death.
Did he tie it into his disappearances?
He kind of, yeah, because he's starting to venture out now. I think he's doing some urban stuff too.
Yeah.
So he
he's
pointed
doing
out
the stuff with the phone calls with people that make mysterious phone calls and disappear. So he's starting to branch out from just the parks.
So if you're really into David Paulides and the research he's been doing, you got to look that up on YouTube because it's literally 24 hours of interviews. And like I said,
listen to him straight.
Oh, I made it like 2 hours and I was like, oh, I just can't do this anymore. I'll probably come back to it eventually, but it is a lot of repetitive information because I've listened to so many of his interviews now. But I heard some new stuff. The Elisa Lam stuff was really new to me. So
that's
cool.
kind of crazy. I want to check that out to see what he has to say about that.
Yeah.
And we were, I don't remember even how it came up, but we were in a Thinking Sideways discussion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because somebody was complaining about Devin.
Whatever.
Not liking Devin.
Just
and
the
then,
way she talks or something?
Yeah. And then I
like
mentioned
Devin.
being a co-host on a podcast.
Yeah.
So I think because of that, we got a couple new listeners.
Ooh,
because
so we gotta
some more people subscribed, some names that I don't recognize.
Bring our A game and stuff.
Yeah, so this is kind of scary.
Hey,
now
new
we got
listeners.
hi, new listeners. Now we have people that we don't really know listening to us.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. Now I'm
Be
scared
nice.
to talk.
I know, right?
Krista's going to do this one on her
I'll
own.
try not to sound like I'm from Wisconsin.
If you sounded like that, it would really drive me nuts.
Joe and I were just talking today. Joe, my co-host on Paranormal Palaver, we were just talking today how it would be really funny to do an entire podcast episode with our Wisconsin accents because he does a really good one too. Actually, he's imitating his mom, so it's really funny.
Did you ever see the guy on Facebook or on YouTube that does
Is it the Manitowoc
Yeah,
Minute?
the Manitowoc
They're going to
Minute.
try to get that guy on Friday Nights with Jeff and Joe,
Seriously?
another one of our
'Cause
affiliate
he's funny.
podcasts.
It's really funny.
They said, what does he always say? Keep her moving or something like that. So I'm like, I've never heard it, but it sounds funny.
It's very funny and painfully accurate.
Okay, I'll have to check it out. But I think they're going to try getting that guy on Friday Nights with Jeff and Joe.
Yeah, that would be
kind of
awesome.
Cool. Yeah, that would be cool. We'll have to come and we'll sit in the background and just be like groupies or something.
Yeah.
Here in the Triple P Ranch.
Yeah.
Oh, here's some housekeeping. So we set out a recorder last time, and Kurt and I were trying to remember, was this last time we were here? I had heard a noise out in the hallway, and when I went and looked, the lights were on, and they're on motion detection. And we were trying to figure out if that was the last time we were here, and did we talk about that? And it was, because I remember you had listened to some audio we had recorded briefly just as a test. And as soon as you put those headphones on, that's exactly when I heard the noise. So I reviewed all that audio and we got some kind of weird stuff.
Yeah, I think we got some really weird stuff.
And we just did another test today with a couple doors closed and one door open and made a lot of noise to see how it carries down the hall. And it did not sound at all like it did in this other recording. So
the problem with this place, though, is that other people have access to it. Like right now, there's somebody in one of the rooms down the hallway.
It's so obvious when somebody walks into the building, though, and footsteps and making noises.
Yeah, but then part of me wonders if, like, when I walked out, one day when the motion lights were on, maybe somebody came in to drop something off and then left, so there was no car. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say because, there really is only one road in here and out, and we're sitting here right by the window. We're
sitting right by the window, so if somebody drives in...
there's a couple houses behind you, but...
before you got here, I saw somebody pull in here, and then I looked, and there were no cars in the parking lot, but there's an exit out that way.
Yeah, but it goes to a dead end.
There's nothing out that way.
So, I don't know. It's interesting.
But, you got some weird voice. I think it's not your voice or my voice.
And there's definitely a door creaking at some point.
Yeah.
And sort of sounds like the bathroom
you heard
door.
Another voice in here tonight when I was talking.
Yeah, or I heard a male voice
over my
talking
voice.
Over you. It was so brief, but you saw the look on my
yeah,
face.
And I didn't hear anything.
You're like, what's your problem?
I always have that look on my face when I'm with you.
So now we have a recorder going in the room, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and if we get any good EVPs or anything like that, we'll share it with you.
Yeah.
Once we go through it and make sure that's not us.
Kurt and I are like giddy kids, though. We're kind of hoping that there's something here because that would be just
but we've had since when we first started doing this, there wasn't much, but it seems like every
Something's
week that we
up.
do this, it's getting more active, so it's really strange.
Well, here's a theory. Maybe there didn't start out being anything here, but we're here every other week talking about the paranormal.
Yeah.
I was here every week with my other co-host talking about the paranormal. I mean, who knows? Maybe we drew something here because we're always talking about this stuff. We're always researching it. I mean, I believe that sort of thing can happen. So we'll see what we find. We'll keep researching. We'll get back to you.
Yes. So have you seen or done or listened to anything interesting since the last time?
Oh, what have I been listening to podcasts? I'm so into the missing persons podcast. It's all I listen to lately.
The only podcasts I seem to listen to lately are the ones where I'm doing research for stuff that we're going to talk about.
Yeah. I listened to a episode of Unfound. So I got to look it up on my Stitcher here. It's the flight MH370. That's the plane is it the Indian plane or Indonesian plane or whatever, that Malaysia Airlines flight that has never been found. So that was so interesting.
I mean, that was like that at some point.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that. And I think you and I talked today again about missing Maura Murray.
Yeah,
well, we want to do Maura Murray, but
we want to do that. The next episode will probably be about Area 51, and then the episode
we're going to have a special guest, right?
Yes, we're going to have a special guest, Jamie Bond, my good friend since I was wee.
Is he the one who did the music?
Yes.
Okay,
he is the one who did our theme
I'm sure I've
music
met him
stuff.
at some point.
I don't know if you have, because he lives
so?
in Massachusetts.
Okay.
So you probably didn't.
Very cool. So
he's gonna hopefully be here. It depends on scheduling and everything, because he's gonna be home that week.
Is he a skeptic?
I don't really know.
Okay.
I think he's more skeptic than he is a believer.
Yeah. Have you seen the movie Area 51?
No.
You should rent it.
No, I've read a lot of books about it. I watched it. It's not.
So this isn't a documentary. It's a found footage Blair Witch type movie. That's actually pretty creepy.
It's not a horror movie or a paranormal movie, but I watched a really, really good movie last night. I watched Boyhood. By Richard.
Oh, is that when the kid they filmed it over several
yeah,
years?
It was so good.
Okay.
He's Richard Linklater is one of my favorite directors.
Okay.
My second favorite movie of all time is Dazed and Confused.
Oh yeah,
and he did that one.
That's like I could act out that whole movie right now. Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, that's my second favorite movie of all time. First is Almost Famous because I love Almost Famous.
Almost Famous. I didn't know that about you, Kurt. Yes, that is so weird.
Yes, that is my favorite movie. I adore that movie.
It's all happening.
Yeah, it was so good, and I didn't see it. The first time I saw it, I think, was like 2 years ago.
Oh my!
I had never seen it before.
Yeah, Kate Hudson is luminous in that movie.
But Boyhood was just amazingly good.
Okay.
And he also did. Two more of my favorite movies are Before Sunrise and Before Sunset.
Okay. Oh.
He did those two with Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
Where they meet on the like before sunrise is where they.
Is it before sunrise?
Before sunrise is where they meet on the train.
Okay, yeah.
And they get out and they walk around and talk. And
I don't think I've ever seen it, but I've seen clips
the sequel,
of it.
Before Sunset, is them meeting up again 10 years later. And it's just, the movie is just them walking and talking. That's all the movie is. Yeah. And his movies are weird where you can't really say what happens because there's like no, there's like no closure. There's like no plot. I mean, it's just like Dazed and Confused was like a day in the life of these high school kids.
A bunch of stuff happens, but nothing really happens.
And Boyhood was about this little boy and him growing up, and it ended on his first day of college.
Okay.
But it was just amazing that
they used the same actors.
The same actors. They got together, I think he said 3 days out of every year for 12 years.
Wow.
That they would film this. So it was just neat to see this kid,
actually
a young kid.
Up. Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, he's, I think, 19. And it was weird seeing Ethan Hawke go from being young to being old without like makeup and anything like that. So,
without them having to find some actor that looks kind of like a resemblance. Yeah.
But it was just an amazing movie.
It's an interesting concept. I had read that it didn't get very good reviews, but
it got really good reviews. It got great reviews on like Metacritic or something. It still has 100.
Oh, nice.
Which is like really, really hard to get.
Okay.
But most people, his movies are, like I said, Before Sunrise, Before Sunset. For 90 minutes, you're watching two people walk and talk.
Yeah, it's like a Woody Allen film, basically.
There's a third one called Before Midnight, but I kind of refuse to admit it exists because I hated it.
Oh.
I did not like it.
Okay. Question, have you seen Everybody Wants Some?
No, he did that too.
It's not good.
No?
No.
It didn't look good from the previews.
They tried to make it like the 80s version of Dazed and Confused, and it was just trying so hard to be Dazed and Confused, and it just isn't.
No.
Because Dazed and Confused is like, you can't...
Perfection.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Everything about that movie.
Yes.
I'm just going to digress a little bit. You know Mitchy, Mitchy, Mitchy?
Yeah.
We made a game out of counting how many times he
touches
his nose.
Yeah.
Because it's like the one character like movement he knows how to do, and so he does it through the whole movie.
Did you see his movie Waking Life?
No.
That was a weird movie.
Okay. I've never seen him in anything. I don't know if I liked
that one because it was done with that, I can't remember what it's called, rotoscope, that animation.
Oh.
But
where they kind of make it look like a comic book almost?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the whole movie is, I might be getting this wrong, but I think the whole movie is from Mitchie's point of view. It's Mitchie's point of view.
Yeah, okay. So, no, I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, it wasn't the best.
Who's your favorite character on Dazed and Confused?
My favorite character on Dazed and Confused is probably Pink. I like Pink.
Oh, Floyd?
Yeah.
You know who I happen to love? This is Ben Affleck's character.
He's such a douche.
I know, but he plays it
he does
play
well.
a good douche. God, you just hate him so much in that movie.
Yeah.
But nobody else could have done that the way he did it.
Yeah.
And I love that Matthew McConaughey's first words on screen were in that movie.
Matthew McConaughey was unbelievable in that movie. But yeah, I like Pink. Pink was kind of like the heart of the... To me, he was kind of like the heart of the movie.
Sure. Everything kind of revolved around him. He was friends with all the different people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That movie makes me wish I was born like 10 years earlier than I was. I mean, I was born in 70, so I remember the 70s. But
I was born in 76, which is the year that movie was made, because they talk about the bicentennial. Yep. And I'm like, oh, I was born that year. Yeah, I was born way too late.
But yeah, I remember the 70s, but I just wish I could have experienced...
Yeah.
Like high school in the 70s.
It was, I mean, just look at what an innocent time. I know the whole Vietnam thing was whatever, but when did Vietnam start?
I'm not sure.
I'm not good at history.
I told you, I guess. It's really bad in
Don't come here for facts and historically correct information,
no,
people.
Not at all.
But it just seemed like such an innocent time, you know. And of course, the movie's about high school kids on summer break, so they have nothing to worry about, you know.
Tell people that, you know, so many of my friends are like 19, 20, 21 years old.
Yeah.
I'm considerably older than that.
Well, you know, you're young at heart, Kurt.
Thank you. But it's like explaining to them how life was when we didn't have cell phones, where if you were going to meet up with your friends, you didn't text them. You know, you told them the day before. If they didn't show up, too bad.
Right. You're just left wondering where they are.
And then when
your mom had to call you.
Yeah.
Like literally shout down the road.
And there was none of this walking around outside with your phone. You had to be within, 6 feet of the cord in the wall.
I really do miss those days.
They were easier days.
They
I
really
love
were.
my phone. I love my text messaging. I love my Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that contributes to so much stress that we don't realize.
Oh, absolutely. And I do think that it, in a way, and people say this all the time, it isolates people because you don't have to leave your home anymore to talk to people.
No.
And communication through a computer screen or a phone screen is so impersonal.
Yeah, people are going to lose the ability to communicate
Speak to each other.
Yeah, to communicate with each other in person.
Right. Marijuana on one, reefer on two.
But yeah, Dazed and Confused, such a good movie. Boyhood is amazing. So if that's your kind of thing, a plotless movie where it's just really good, then maybe check it out.
Oh, we watched, just quickly, Free Fire. I highly recommend it. Takes place in the 70s.
Ooh.
It's a drug deal, or I'm sorry, a guns and arms deal gone bad, but at the same time, it's really funny. Army Hammer's in it, ladies. Army Hammer.
I have no idea who that is.
6'5", blonde-haired,
Is that like
blue-eyed,
MC
Army
Hammer?
Hammer.
Parachute pants?
No.
Can't touch this?
The Man from Uncle. Do you remember the Man from? Have you seen the movie?
No.
The new one. Well, look him up, ladies. Army Hammer. He's a dreamboat, and he's in that movie. But there are other people in the movie.
Dreamboat.
He's a dreamboat.
It's like the
I'm sorry.
50s.
He's a giant dreamboat. He was in another movie called Mine that was really good. He's a soldier in, I think, Afghanistan who steps on a mine, and it's...
I apparently have not. I am out of the movie loop. I have not heard of any of these.
Oh, this one's Free Fire is pretty new, but it's that movie where you're literally laughing out loud in the middle of a gunfight. So it's like reminded me of Reservoir Dogs in a way that it's really clever and there's a lot of really good one-liners.
I might have to check that out.
Yeah, it's very good.
We hear somebody coming. I think it's Joe.
I think we hear footsteps.
I hope
Drum
it's
roll,
I hope it's Joe.
please. Oh, that's Joe. I know his. Oh.
It's a door.
Called humidity, buddy.
Joe.
It's Joe Horsemeyer.
We are recording.
We're recording. Welcome to the podcast. We've already done all of our housekeeping. Housekeeping. Wow.
Okay, good.
Joe's here and I can't talk anymore. Good. You
We
need a
talked
co-host.
about the movie Dazed and Confused. Krista talked about dreamy guys.
Wow, lots of strange things today.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's a strange things today.
This is the Strange Sessions, Joe.
I know that. It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor,
It's
actually.
weird. The last time I saw you, I was being interviewed on your podcast.
It was winter.
Yeah, it was and this is completely the opposite. I've not been in this building.
No, you guys haven't done this in a
No.
while.
We
It's
haven't.
been quite a while since we have
1 week
recorded-
since I looked at it.
I was
Is
gonna
that where
say,
you were going with that? I feel like that's
kinda-
weird.
channeling bare naked ladies.
So, listeners who are, should we crack a window?
Yeah, I'm going to do that. You
Okay,
talk.
I'm going to introduce Joe. So, Joe Horsemeyer.
Yes.
Joe is my co-host on Paranormal Palaver, the
Yeah.
flagship podcast of this little media company
Yes.
we've got going, Old School Media.
This crazy bus.
Yes. Check out Paranormal Palaver, the episode that Kurt is on. What is that one
Jeez,
called?
What is that, 8?
I think 9. I think
Niner. We got a
Someone's
niner.
got to Google this.
I think
I'll
it was
look it up.
9. I might
I'll
be wrong.
Look it up.
But if you want to hear Kurt guest starring on our episode, and we listened to some EVPs, it's a good episode.
It is one of the best.
This is the last
Woohoo.
time we had
Thank
this
you.
little band back together. So,
Yes.
are you
Very
good here?
I'm good. I'm fantastic. I'm just weirded out for something. Squirrel. I don't know. Doing good. I had a lot of coffee at work before I left.
Oh, good. When I was leaving, there was like a half a millimeter of no coffee space at the top of the cup. I was like, are you going to get that to your mouth without spilling it? I'm not sure.
I do that.
He has a straw.
Oh, coffee would be good.
I do not.
We can make some
No.
coffee. Oh, shoot. We're out
Otherwise,
of
I won't sleep
coffee.
tonight.
I have it on my list to buy coffee for the studio. You can cut all of this.
I don't know. I kind of like this.
Okay, good. This is basically Paranormal Palaver. Joe walked in and
Yeah,
now
Sorry.
some people said they wanted more banter. This is
Here
your
they
more
go.
banter.
Here's your
Ladies
banter.
and gentlemen, things will get off the rails now that I have come in.
Well, we will digress.
Yes, episode 9, Paranormal
Woohoo.
Palaver, episode 9. That's actually a 3-parter.
Yeah.
We had a lot of good discussions.
Oh, that's when we were
that
still
day.
splitting them into parts.
Yeah. It is probably about an hour long in all.
Yeah.
Well, we talked
But-
about EVPs. We talked about the Mandela effect. We talked about the stuff from my childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a fun one. It was that was
that
one
was a
that I
good one.
left, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that was good
that was
radio."
That was fun.
Nailed it.
I was a little nervous when I got here. Wasn't sure what to expect. I cried.
Oh,
I may have soiled myself. I don't remember.
Oh,
Wow, that's
you
what
cried
that smell
and
was.
soiled yourself.
Possibly.
Wow,
Possibly.
We tend to do that to people.
demonstrating all kinds of bodily functions. Sweet.
Kurt is working today. Yeah. Good. But again, I don't want to bogart this. I was just in the area, thought I'd burst in the door.
Okay.
And, but please, strange on.
By the way, we were in here before talking, and there's a recorder going behind you
Yeah.
because we thought we'd try something new this time. I heard a male voice talking over Kurt before
A male voice?
when we
Yeah.
were in here.
Okay.
And I looked out all the windows. There was nobody around. The two people that are here now,
Yes.
you saw two cars. They were not here yet.
Oh.
So, just saying.
Yeah. And Krista got some weird stuff on her recorder
Yeah, I'll have
that
to
I
share
don't
that
think
with
is
you.
our voices.
No.
This has been a fun saga, though. Going into work and or getting text messages from Krista being like, so we heard something. And I'm like,
and then
and?
immediately calling me
Yeah.
and being like, okay, tell me.
And then there's no explanation back. Like, okay.
Yeah. So we should do an investigation here, like an actual, not a podcast,
Well,
an investigation.
we know how to get in,
Sure do.
We do.
and it's open all the time
We
for
should
us.
just find a day.
And the
let's make it
passcode for our
Maybe
listeners
let
is
Hey!
let
What's the Twitter? What's the Twitter password?
Twitter password.
That's another Paranormal Palaver thing, ladies and gentlemen. Listen all.
yes,
full of
it is an
inside jokes.
excellent show. We need to have more crossover episodes.
Yeah, we
I
should.
cannot wait for when we do get started. This summer has been bonkers for me. Not good for
It is.
podcasting.
It's like weddings left and right. Everybody's getting married. Joe's getting married. I mean, people.
weird.
Priorities.
yes.
What was
Because
I
we
gonna
talked about
say?
the Illuminati, doing the Illuminati
Oh,
for
yeah.
I
And
know,
we need
Joe,
you for that.
I'm all
Every-
about a good
Yeah.
conspiracy theory dog.
I might have to limit you to like 3 cups of coffee before we do that, though.
I don't
Fair.
know. I
That's
don't know.
fair.
I don't know what I think of the Illuminati. You might have to sell me on it.
Nah, okay. I'll do my best.
Okay.
It's one of those things where I always have to give the disclaimer that I may or may not believe all of it, but I do think it is extremely interesting.
It
Yeah,
is.
yeah. Sure.
And then I'll caveat that with I feel like if there's someone not pulling the strings, then we have a bigger problem because there are actual idiots at the helm.
Yeah,
Right.
you know, I think
That's
about that
true.
when people talk about the New World Order
Yeah.
running things and they're afraid that they're going to run things. I'm like, well, maybe it wouldn't be such a bad idea.
I
having
know. There are
somebody
some
else
things where
run
I'm
this.
like, oh, no, yeah, we should totally do that. You know, in terms of the Illuminati.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I believe everything. But it is
Disclaimer
interesting.
for my disclaimer.
It is extremely interesting. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and it's when you're sitting at work crunching numbers, it's awesome to have that in your head,
Mm-hmm.
just like, ooh, and then there's this, and then there's that.
Yeah, I agree.
And then when someone
The
sits
rabbit
down,
hole. It's the
it
rabbit
is.
hole.
And someone sits down with you, they're like, "Can you explain the Illuminati?" I'm like, "Okay, first off, bud, we only have about 20 minutes, and what I'm about to tell you will not make any sense to you because it all loops together."
Yeah.
So, anyways, what were we going to talk about today?
Today is about shadow people.
Shadow
Okay,
people.
good. I'm going to sit back.
Okay.
Okay. So Kurt, so this is what happens.
Okay.
Joe's used to me running the show.
Yeah,
Kurt's running the show.
that's fantastic.
I don't know if I'd say I'm really running the show. I kind of do the research, and I think that you.
I do
contribute.
nothing. I
No,
just
you
sit
contribute
here
a ton.
and
You do.
I say
I have
witty
caught-
things every once in a while.
The thing with shadow people is there's really not that much to.
It's mostly just fun stories.
Yeah,
Right?
It's mostly stories.
Theories.
There's theories. There's some things that they have in common.
Okay.
What I thought was kind of fascinating going into this was that shadow people, the term shadow people, didn't really exist until 2001.
What?
Yeah, April 12th, 2001 on
Oh, you have
Coast
a
to
date.
Coast with
Wow.
Art Bell.
Oh, coast to coast.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Sweet.
that is the first time that it was like labeled shadow people.
Really? So
I
what
love
was
that.
it called before that?
Probably just ghosts.
Okay.
Well, you'd have to, expect that, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just like Black Eyed Kids. That's actually a fairly new.
it is. Black
Yeah.
Eyed Kids is right up there with
At
shadow
least
people.
the term is new.
Right.
Like Men in Black is older, but as far as newer ones, it would be Black Eyed Kids and shadow people.
Okay.
You know,
That's
and then
That's
you
really
gotta,
surprising, but okay, go on.
yeah, because like you said, what was
They've been around for probably
did people just refer to them as ghosts?
Right.
You know, the difference between them and ghosts is that ghosts you can see features on, and shadow people you can't.
It's just a
Isn't it more
shadow.
just an outline?
Yeah, it's
type of
more like
thing?
an outline.
solid-
Sometimes they have eyes.
Okay.
Apparently,
Like red eyes.
red eyes. Some have red eyes that you don't want to run into those.
I have caught all of because Krista, calm down. It's okay.
Krista keeps hearing noises.
I heard that one too, but your neck. I think
sounded like
you
the
might
door
have
closing.
caused bodily harm to yourself.
I have whiplash now.
I have listened to all of your episodes, by the way, and
Well,
I don't
thank
want to
you.
bring it back to not the topic, but I do want to give a big shout out to Kurt for joining the team.
Thank you.
Here at Old School Media. This show has been a blast to listen to. I love the research that you have put into this stuff.
Well, thank you.
And like, it's also really nice to sit back and listen as opposed to reacting to everything that Krista is saying. You know, for Paranormal Palaver, she does all the research, and then Jeff and I just make fun of her. Basically, is how it goes. So
It's a really fun dynamic.
That does seem to be this general format.
yeah, but it is because I am truly interested in what Krista has to say. It just turns into banter.
Yeah.
But like to sit down because you have done great research.
Thank you.
You really do.
So I just wanted to do that real
Thank
quick.
you.
I enjoy not having to do the research, so I'm very thankful that Kurt likes to do this.
Yeah, I do like to do it, but like I said, it's not like you just sit there and nod. I mean, you contribute a lot.
You
I
do.
don't just go, uh-huh.
No,
Yep.
no, thank you. I'm so happy
aliens.
that this whole thing even came about.
Yeah,
'Cause
me
I remember
too.
when you first brought it up to me, I was like, I hate my voice. I don't know if I want to do this.
Blah, blah, blah. We're
It's
doing
been
this.
good. And after our Paranormal Palaver episode where we interviewed you, you know, the talk has been on and off with like, oh, we should get Kurt.
That was
you
one of
know.
our more popular episodes,
It was
too.
awesome.
And that's the thing is that I would have loved to have been there for every one of those recordings, but my stupid job,
Oh, yeah.
working weekends.
Stupid job.
Yeah,
We all have one.
I'm not even going
It's
to edit
okay.
that out.
Take that.
Hey, man, it's your podcast. Roll with it.
I'm being real.
Just keeping this real. Love it. Kurt's
Okay,
getting all
sorry for
serious
that
and whatnot.
commercial
fine.
there,
That's
but
good. Fine.
yeah, let's get back
Appreciate
to Shadow
it,
People.
appreciate it.
Yeah, Shadow People. 2001, Art Bell is when it started. I don't know what they were before. Like I said, I'm guessing ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't remember if we talked about it in our investigations, but when I saw when we were at Mansfield, Ohio, at the Ohio State Penitentiary, and we
Yeah.
saw the figure,
Yeah.
that was just a shadow of a person. You know, we went to that cell where Taps put the X when they saw something there on Ghost Hunters.
So you saw a shadow person.
Yeah, we-
though. Okay.
Yeah, if I've ever seen a shadow person, it was that.
Okay.
But the lights were off, so who's to say it wasn't a ghost?
Oh, I
you know,
guess.
there's just such a...
I suppose. I wouldn't have thought of that. I mean, if the lights are off and it's just a regular
Yeah.
ghost, would they come across as a shadow person?
I feel as though ghosts tend to have, if you're talking the traditional ghost, tend to have a little bit more of that grayish, a little bit more, I don't know, white to them.
and more like human features. that
Yeah.
you can make
or
out
maybe
the clothing, you
even
can
like
make
an
out.
illumination that you
Yeah,
can't, you
Sure.
know,
Yeah.
So if it's dark, I feel like,
you'd see them.
and this is my take on Shadow People, I feel like it's a little bit more of a darker entity
Yeah.
that is
it's like darker than dark.
wants to
that's
be
what
seen.
in some of the stories, I think in two
Yeah.
of the stories that I printed out, both people said it's darker than dark.
Yeah, and it like wants to be seen in the dark.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
I
so
don't think
But,
I've ever seen one.
Typical
I have
features of
not.
shadow people, their appearances are three-dimensional, unlike a flat shadow cast onto a wall.
okay,
So you can see that it has substance.
Okay.
sure.
Although female shadow people have been seen, most figures seem to have the body shape of males.
Mm-hmm.
Quite typically, they have no visible eyes, but some will have glowing red eyes or white slits as eyes, which is pretty creepy.
Sure.
That I've not heard.
Yeah,
That's pretty.
I don't want to see that.
Nope.
They seem to be aware of us and when we observe them.
Okay.
You know, they generally react when they notice that we notice them.
Yeah.
Okay.
They often give off a feeling of immense dread or fear, and it's just not like the holy crap, there's something there fear. It's like a primal,
Kind of like black-eyed kids.
yeah, it's kind of like a very primal fight or flee fear.
Okay.
Sure.
Shadow people seem to be either very short, 3 to 4 feet in height, or very tall, 6 to 8 feet in height.
Okay.
Wow.
I hadn't
And
heard
some
of the shorties.
some of the ones I read about, the short ones, are really creepy because they have facial features, and they usually have like a super wide grin.
Do you think that's like the jinn?
That I don't know. Some people suggest that the shadow people are jinn.
So for those of you who don't, can you spell
like
that?
a genie,
Isn't it
right?
DJINN. Yeah.
INN? And they are very, very mischievous and
Yeah, mischievous, but
often
from what I've read, some
kind
are
of
good,
evil.
some are not good.
yeah.
These are the jinn is kind of like a genie, right?
It's kind of like
Ish.
a genie, but not like the
Not
Aladdin.
Yeah, no.
yeah, not like definitely not like Barbara Eden. But yeah, they're just mischievous,
Okay.
creatures.
Well, that's creepy though that the shorter ones have like a wide grin. And
Yeah, they have like a wide grin, and there's also children, shadow people, that just seem like curious.
Okay.
So shadow people are either very short or very tall. While they react to us observing them, they seldomly try to communicate. And they can walk through walls, closed doors, and objects.
Okay. Has anyone heard them speak? Do they?
No,
okay.
none of the stories.
They're usually silent.
I have an example of a story here where somebody says they heard a voice in their head, but it didn't come directly from the shadow person.
I see. Aliens.
Yeah, aliens. It's got to be.
Just gonna say it's very alien-esque.
It is very telepathic communication. Okay.
And there's a couple different types. There's the run-of-the-mill humanoid shadow people.
Run-of-the-mill,
that just
your
seem
everyday
curious.
shadow
They seem
person.
curious. A lot of people wake up and they see them watching them.
Well, that's creepy.
That is very creepy. There's black smoke / mist people that are often blurry and don't have much of a form. They just kind of appear like smoke. And these ones often cause overwhelming dread and give off a feeling of malevolence.
Okay.
So stay away from those. Shadow animals have been reported, but not common.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, dogs and cats. I've never
But
heard of
just
like
in
a
a
shadow ferret
form.
or anything like that.
A shadow ferret.
Not yet.
There's ones called the peeking shadows that are child-sized and merely peeks around corners and just appear to be super inquisitive.
I don't like anything that peeks around corners.
No. And that reminds
I
me
just
of the thing
don't. The thing
I
you
cannot
saw.
thing I
wait.
saw when I was a kid.
I cannot wait for the next time I'm just gonna peek around the corner. just gonna peek around.
You'd have to peek through that window
Oh,
because I
yeah.
keep waiting to see something in this room next to us.
That always creeps us out.
Yeah.
We can close those blinds if you'd like.
I like
know
being
that.
a little creepy.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
little
Fair enough.
atmosphere.
It's a little atmosphere.
Yeah, there's the peeking shadow people.
Okay.
There, a lot of these appear to be hooded or to have a cloak on. A surprising number seems to have hood on.
Okay.
And then there's the big one that seems to be all the rage right now is the one wearing a fedora or known as the Hat Man.
Well, there's the top hat too.
Yes. What's weird is that people said it's either a fedora or a top hat or in some cases like a cowboy hat.
That's one classy shadow
That's
man.
one classy shadow person. At some point, we're going to have Brittany's on and Devin's on.
Yes.
We bring them up a lot in the podcast. They're going to come here because they saw
Growing up.
they saw the Hat Man shadow person in their house.
Yes. They both had encounters with him.
Yeah, the Hat Man thing.
I never
is
knew
weird.
that, which just freaked me out that I've known them for how long now?
A long time.
I knew
I never
that they
knew
were
that either. I
seeing
knew they
things
saw
in the
stuff, but I
house.
never
Yeah.
knew they saw the shadow person.
No, I didn't know that it was the Hat Man.
But as far as the Hat Man, he seems to be wearing a top hat or a fedora. He's sometimes seen apparently wearing an old business suit or like a cape.
I'm telling you, he is classy.
Yeah, classy and kind of creepy.
Does he have a cane?
Sometimes he has been seen with a cane.
What about a monocle?
No monocle. I have not seen a monocle.
Okay.
So he could work on that. He could work on the class a little bit.
Yeah, jeez, come on.
Losing points.
Those who encounter him report feelings of dread and paralysis. And he seems to be very curious about the people that witness him, but he also seems to be, bless you, he seems to be way more hostile and evil than the other ones.
I do have one Hat Man story. Not personally.
Oh, this is
but
the graveyard
yeah.
story? Okay, carry on.
should I tell it now?
Yes,
Is it
you
story
should.
time?
Tell me.
Yes.
Okay.
Is it story time?
Well, I don't know. Are we going to get to a story time?
I will hold up a sign when it's acceptable to tell
To
your story,
applaud
Joe.
and things like that? Okay. In the town that I grew up called Decatur, Wisconsin, unincorporated, great little town. 2 or 3 houses down, we had some neighbors. Unfortunately, the individual who this happened to did commit suicide later on in life, but at the time, he went to our cemetery, which has more people in it than the town actually has. Living, yeah, it's a small town.
Yeah.
We do have the church and the bar though, so
You
we're
have
good
to.
there. Mhm.
Is there a quick trip?
No,
Oh.
it's much smaller.
there a
than
bar?
That, yeah.
There's a.
Oh yeah, I said that.
Apparently,
Sorry.
Krista's not listening.
Goodness gracious.
I'm texting.
Wow.
But anyway, so they went and go figure they were playing Ouija board in the cemetery.
That's always a good idea.
Yep.
Great combination. Right
So they're playing, and behind, over the shoulder of one of these kids at the time, they see this silhouette of a Hat Man. And, of course, they all book it, just completely, they're gone. Run back to the house, and then they realize we did not close the board out. So this kid, his name is
Lord.
Joe, he walked back to the cemetery,
close the
closed
board.
out the board, but he said the whole time he was there, he just felt like someone was standing over him
Oh, that gave me the willies.
and was, basically watching. And
He
once
went back alone?
Yeah, because no one else was brave enough to do it, I
Give a
guess.
shout out to him.
Yeah, I got
Kurt
this story
escorts
from
me to
his
my
sister.
car.
I know.
I'm like, I forgot my phone in my car. I'll come with you.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
the sun's out and it's a nice afternoon.
And I'm a paranormal investigator.
Uh-huh.
It's been a while.
So that's my only Hatman story that
That's
I've
a pretty
ever heard.
creepy Hatman story.
Yeah.
It is a very creepy hat.
I have
story.
played Ghosts in the Graveyard in that graveyard, and to me, I've never really gotten any. I have relatives who are in that cemetery, but I have not.
Cemeteries don't make me feel
They're
scared.
very peaceful to me,
too.
But I suppose if you're going in there to,
Yeah, I've never done a Ouija board. in a
exactly,
cemetery, so I
you're
don't
probably
know.
bound to find something, around.
What
Yeah.
not to do in a cemetery
A
101.
Ouija board.
But that sounds like a typical Hatman kind of story
Yeah.
where there's just that feeling that you're being watched, the feeling of dread.
Yeah.
But yeah, they seem to be very evil. Some people that see him claim that they feel like he is feeding off them, feeding off their fear.
Okay.
Ooh.
And some people said that, and this kind of creeps me out, people said that they never had an experience, never saw any of them until they started researching them,
Oh,
and then they
geez.
started making visits.
Another black-eyed
Black-eyed
kids
kids.
correlation.
Yeah, there's a lot of correlations between black-eyed kids and shadow people.
Okay.
There were podcasts that
Malevolent
would
things.
talk about the two of them and put them together.
I mean, they all seem to tie back to the Black Eyed Kids. Malevolent things in
Yes.
general. That's why I go back to their some type of demonic entity.
Yeah.
Personally,
the
that's my
black-eyed
favorite.
kids one, I feel, is more of an urban legend.
Sure.
I feel like that's kind of like a Slender Man kind of thing where somebody made it up and
It spread like wildfire.
yeah, because I don't know a lot of people that saw black-eyed kids. I know people that have seen shadow people, but I don't know a lot of people that have seen black-eyed kids.
Sure.
And I'm
Well,
okay
and
not
I've
seeing
been
them
researching
myself.
it now for well over a year. You told me about it maybe a year ago, maybe
Yeah.
more. And I've done the research, and I am waiting. I am waiting at the
don't.
door for these children to show up, and they still have yet
Every
to
time
show
there's a knock at the door, Joe flings the
Was it
door
kids? Was
open.
it kids? No.
Hey, is it? Oh.
Come on in. Come on in.
Yeah. No, I don't want to. I want the satisfaction being like, get
Slamming
out.
the door in their face.
Yeah.
You're funny.
Is that weird? I don't know.
And yeah, those are the various kinds of shadow people.
Okay.
And other than that, it's mostly
Well, I
just
just learned
stories.
some new stuff because I was just picturing the regular old Shadow Man and the Hat Man.
It's weird to me that they're tall, that they're so tall or so short.
For me, the weird thing was the short
Short.
one.
I've
never
never
heard
heard
that. Jinx.
Ooh.
You owe me
Give me a Coke.
Jinx again. That's two of them.
But here's a story. This is like a typical Shadow Man story. I got
Great.
this off a website. And again, this is just somebody writing in. This website wanted people's stories about shadow people.
Okay.
And I think there's like literally hundreds on that website.
Lay it on me.
But this is a typical one. It starts, I had an incident with the shadows when I was about 10 years old.
Okay.
I was sick with the flu and was staying by my mother's house. I had been watching TV in her bedroom and I fell asleep. I was awoken by the sound of my mother screaming. She was laying next to me and it was about 2 o'clock in the morning and she was sitting up and pointing at the wooden dresser. The silhouette of a man was perched on top of the dresser, watching us, crouching there.
I read this same exact story.
Did
Okay,
you?
keep going.
His face fixed upon my shrieking mom. It had no detail. It was just a featureless humanoid shape with narrow white eyes. It turned its head to me when it found out I had awoken as well and just sort of stared at me and my mom as my mom continued to howl at it. It then leapt off the dresser, looked at me again, and ran out the door. The way it ran, it sort of just became a blurry streak that vanished around the corner.
That's freaky.
That is freaky.
I have also heard this story. I listened to.
I think we
two-
talked about it on Paranormal Palaver.
We might have, but I listened to two specifically. Let's Read. It's on YouTube, or B-Busta.
Oh, yeah. I've listened to a lot of his stuff
And-
on YouTube.
Let's Read did this very one where
What's weird is that I read a lot of, I would kind of go through them, look for the good ones, but I read a lot of them where the thing is perched. It's like sitting on top of a
Right.
dresser, sitting
Or on top
of
of
a
the
hutch,
bed.
or
Yeah.
on top of a bed, always like perched. People say that it like sits weird, like it's
Kind of
more
reminds
perched.
me of Mothman.
I was gonna
little
say, is
bit.
there another Mothman?
A little bit.
Ooh, Look at us making all kinds of correlations and
references.
connections.
Hey, it's all connected, man.
Sure, man.
Conspiracies.
Illuminati.
And another
Man.
story, another shorter story says, my name is Jeff. I was a young teen in the early 1990s living in upstate New York.
Jeff Verhelst.
I don't think it's him.
He's
You're
been holding out on us the whole
busted.
time.
He said, my first incident was of little note. I was in bed, my older brother asleep on the other side of the room. I woke up to see a shadow of a man standing near the bedroom closet. It was bald, about 5'10", 5'11", no features, no clothes and silhouette, just a shadow of a man. What struck me was that it was darker than the darkness that filled the rest of the room. I was afraid, pulled a blanket over my head, and stayed like that until I fell asleep. 4 years later, I had the same bedroom to myself. I was 15 or 16 at this point. I woke up suddenly one night, the feeling of being watched and a sense of dread. I was lying backwards in bed so that my head was at the foot facing the wall. Whatever was there behind me, I felt. I just remember feeling angry and exasperated, and that I was still afraid of the dark at that age, and decided I would just turn and get up and prove to myself that nothing was there. Not a good idea.
Okay, how do you fall asleep when there's a dark figure of a man
I don't.
watching you?
He didn't. Are you talking about the
The
one that
first time.
pulled his covers over his
Yeah.
head?
I don't.
That's what I did when I saw that.
I pee the bed.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
You pull the covers over
Yep.
and then you just lay there shaking until the sun comes up.
Yep.
Exactly.
You don't fall
Oh
asleep.
my God.
So then he says he was mad. He wanted to wake up and face it. He said he turned his head to see a shadow person like the one from years before. It was just standing there watching me.
Same spot?
Yep, same spot.
Okay.
I went into a blind...
Maybe it's like a residual thing.
I don't know.
Come at me, bro.
I went into a blind panic. I started to get up, and it was suddenly standing right next to the bed like it moved there in a millisecond.
Hey.
It put out its right hand fast, but at the same time like it was in slow motion, and laid it upon my chest.
Ooh.
I was completely left cold and terrified. When I woke in the morning, I was soaked with sweat and felt nauseous. For 3 days after that, I felt very ill. Soon after that, the family cat refused to come into the bedroom. She would stand outside the doorway and cry. And then a year before my graduation, I had the final encounter. This one kind of freaks me out. As before,
As
I
if the other one's head.
Wow, this one must be really
I
scary.
can't wait for this one.
As before, I woke in the middle of the night. I was in another bedroom at this point. This time it was very different. I woke up and there was a featureless shadow person sitting next to my bed in what appeared to be a wheelchair. I knew it was a woman, but I can't explain how I knew that. I just did. I stared in it at disbelief, expecting to wake from a dream, but I didn't wake up. It wasn't a dream. I didn't feel any sense of maliciousness coming from it. It was just sort of there. In my head, I remember hearing its voice shouting in my own mind, repeating the phrase, "There's nothing up there. There's nothing up there." And it pointed upwards with its right hand. The voice sounded raspy, hollow, and metallic. I get chills recalling this, but at the time I was just confused. When it was done, the room did this weird flicker thing, and then it was sunny in the room. I remember sitting up in bed, but time had moved forward.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
There's nothing up there.
I don't know if she's referring to heaven. I
Oh,
don't know.
that's depressing.
That was my first thought, was that.
You do hear a lot about that in demonic type
Yeah.
situations where they're trying to trick you,
Yeah.
or maybe they are.
You're
They
wasting
just
your
feel
time.
despair
Yeah.
that there's nothing after this.
Or maybe they're trying to hide the fact that there's a dead body in the attic and they're like, there's nothing up there.
Yeah.
There's no need to go look up in the attic.
Yeah, that one just creeped me out. The
That's creepy.
wheelchair.
The wheelchair.
shadow
Wheelchairs
wheelchair
are creepy.
person. Yeah, wheelchairs are very
Wheelchairs and baby carriages.
creepy. Yeah.
Really creepy.
We know what we're going to leave.
Like
Oh,
modern
we
day
know.
ones.
We know what we're
Like,
going to leave
If
in
I
Krista's
come out in
yard.
this hall and an empty baby
There's a baby
carriage just
carriage.
comes rolling.
Wait, no, for real. Let's break this down. Are we talking the modern day ones? Like they're all bright
Old
like an
colors?
old
fashioned
school
ones are
pram.
old
An old
fashioned-
school
yeah.
pram.
Okay, because otherwise you might
Like
have a
with the
bigger problem.
Big wheels and like, you know what I'm
Sure.
talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking
London.
about. I wanted to make sure
Early
though, because
1900s.
if you have a problem with like modern day ones,
Yeah.
Modern day ones aren't really scary.
Strollers. They're called
Yeah,
strollers.
Strollers.
just
We're
strolling.
talking baby carriage.
Okay,
There's
good point.
a difference.
Thanks.
And then one last story that I thought was kind of... So many of the stories were all the same thing. I woke up one night. It was there watching me.
So how many of these people are just dreaming?
don't-
That's my
I don't- that's
question.
gonna be
or
in-
sleep
that's gonna be in
paralysis.
theories.
Theories. Okay,
Yes.
I'm always skipping ahead to theories.
This last one said
Theories.
by a girl named Rebecca. Hey, Rebecca. So this happened last night, August 9th, 2015. My boyfriend and myself were at my mother's house spending a little time before our Sunday dinner with her. I asked my boyfriend if he would run to the grocery store with me to pick up some things we needed for our house and things we still needed for dinner. He agreed and we left. We were shopping for maybe 30 minutes before we decided to leave because of the rainstorm that was coming. We left the store, loaded up our things, took off in my mom's truck. We turned out of the store parking lot and were maybe 5 minutes away from the store in a small stretch of road that was very dimly lit. In the distance, I saw a tall man walking down the street. I didn't think much about it and continued to watch him as we got nearer. He disappeared slightly, but the next moment I knew. I turned my head to the right and seen him directly outside my car door window peering in.
Nope.
She says, now mind you, we weren't driving fast at all, 30 miles an hour, because our turn wasn't far. And
That's
and
fast
we were
enough
in the
that
process
somebody
of slowing
can't
down.
run next to you, though.
And also take note that we were in a Ford F-150 truck, so it doesn't sit low to the ground.
Right, okay.
I noted a few things. He moved very quickly and was tall, and I couldn't make out any features even with how close he was to the window. It kind of baffled me to how someone could be so close to the window at the speed we were going and not be hit by our passenger side mirror. Taken aback, I decided I was seeing things and chose not to say anything to my boyfriend. I sat there, and after about 10 seconds, my boyfriend said, "Did you see a man who was just walking outside our car a minute ago?" I didn't see anything but a dark shadow and how tall he was. I shouted yes. He said, "How was he able to be so close to the car in such a short time frame? He was standing right outside your window." I instantly got the shivers.
And started crying.
So was it, and it was a dark shadow again?
It was a dark shadow that couldn't make out any facial features.
Stay strong, Rebecca.
Yeah. that would,
Lock
that,
your
that one
doors,
just freaks me
Rebecca.
out.
Wow.
But yeah, those are just 3 of the ones that I thought were interesting. So many of them are,
I'd never heard that before.
yeah, so many of them are fedora.
Was
A
it
lot
during
of
the
them-
day?
No, it was at night.
Oh, it was at
because it was
night.
dimly lit.
There was another one that this does not have to do with driving, but where it was on that Let's Read, I think. But he was telling the story about, it was a kid who was talking to something, and then the parents went into the room and didn't see anything initially, turned around, and then there was a shadow person standing there,
Yeah.
like almost right directly over the kid, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, ugh.
Yeah, no thank
Yeah,
you.
and there were weird stories where the shadow people wouldn't be 3-dimensional. It would be a shadow on the wall, but the person said he described them as skittering, that they would skitter across the wall.
Oh,
And he said
jeez.
he said the
No.
figures were like waving their hands in the air,
Like
like they were
jazz
trying to get
hands?
jazz hands in the air, like they were trying to get the person's attention.
Ugh. Maybe Peter Pan was onto something with his
I
shadow.
don't know. I don't know.
Wow.
Wow, okay.
Anything described as skittering
Yeah,
is
no,
never
it's
good.
no
You don't
good.
want to ever hear that.
Any of
The
those
herky
movies.
jerky. We
Yeah.
call that the herky jerky walk.
Yeah.
When they're like, House on
The
Haunted
first
Hill.
one I remember is
Ugh.
Jacob's Ladder, because I saw Jacob's
Oh,
Ladder when I was
yeah,
young,
yeah.
and Jacob's
That
Ladder
movie confused
freaked
the hell out of me.
It
Wow.
still freaks the hell.
It was confusing
Anytime
to
somebody's doing like the twitchy head thing.
Yeah,
Ugh.
it's no good.
Yeah.
I always picture like some elderly lady just like running up a corner of a wall. You
Oh,
know, like
that was the movie Legion. That's what it's called.
Didn't see it.
Legion. Watch Legion.
Never even heard of it.
It's good.
That scene seemed
Epic
pretty interesting.
battle of good against evil.
Jennifer Connelly's in it though.
No,
Oh,
her
then-
husband Paul
then
Bettany
we'll
is
see.
in it.
I like Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah, I like her too.
There's
Dark
another
Waters.
epic battle in Star Wars for good and evil. Don't know if you've heard of it.
Joe's obsessed with Star
Light
Wars.
side, dark side.
I'm a Star Trek guy.
Ooh, this
Sorry.
is interesting.
That could be a whole podcast right there.
That could be.
Okay, should we talk about theories? Is what's next?
Sure. I'm trying to think if there was anything other in the stories. A couple of the stories had a weird thing where they said when the shadow people disappeared, there was like a shimmering thing. They said it was, both stories said it was kind of like Star Trek, like getting beamed out in Star Trek.
It's like
Really?
interdimensional then maybe.
And then a lot of the stories
Or
said
aliens.
that the shadow people had like elongated features, like its neck would be really long, or
Ooh,
its head
that's
would be.
creepy.
A lot of people said that what is pictured as Slender Man
yeah,
is basically like a shadow person. That they would have
without the features.
they would have like unusually skinny arms, but really long, skinny arms that would reach out at them.
long phalanges.
Yes. Theories.
Okay.
Number one theory: they're just seeing ghosts.
Okay.
Okay.
Seems fair.
It's just the
It does
type
seem
of
fair.
ghost, I guess.
I don't know. There seems to be so many differences between the two.
Yeah.
Ghosts have features. They say that shadow people happen a lot in haunted areas, so it's possible it could just be ghosts, some type of ghost.
Maybe maybe this is one of your theories. Maybe it's really the perception of the person who sees them. I wonder if you'd have two people in the same room and someone would see features and the other person wouldn't, because
That's
maybe
possible. That
their
is possible.
psyche won't let them see the features. They can only see the.
Oh wow. Now you
Just
get
got deep there.
Yeah.
One theory with the ghosts says it suggests that these shadows represent human spirits that are lost on the ghostly plane because they haven't embraced
They're passing.
that they're gone.
Just a shadow of
Yeah,
themselves.
they said it
literally.
doesn't look the same as other spirits with facial features and clothing because they haven't yet embraced that state of being,
Okay.
leaving them with an absence of the light that most spirits encounter upon moving to the next plane.
So I don't want to I'm going to veer a little bit.
Okay.
But this might have something to do with shadow people and kind of like what you were saying, Krista, about your perception and things like that. I literally just got done listening to an episode of Beyond the Darkness. It's with Dave Schrader, and it's kind of like Darkness Radio. It's basically Darkness Radio.
With a different name.
It's a podcast now. And it says the title is Chronicles of a Modern Day Exorcist. And her name is Rachel Stavis. She's a non-denominational exorcist, and she has a really interesting take on what it means to be possessed and what it means to be of spirit.
Okay.
And so she was getting into this, that actually, have you ever seen The Golden Compass?
No.
No? Okay.
I have.
Where you have like an animal, right?
A spirit animal.
A spirit animal attached to you. She says that there is spirit and entity. Entity is basically the demon that we've all come to love as demons, you know? But she calls them entity. But then spirits are either angels or ghosts of your relatives. Not ghosts, but spirits of your relatives. She's on the purely spiritual plane of things. So to loop this all back around, my thought on what, possibly could be a shadow person is everybody has entity, i.e. demon, attached to them.
What?
According to her.
Me no likey.
Well, it has to do with...
I can kind of see that.
Yeah,
I could kind of go along with that.
It has to do with traumas that you've experienced in your life. A demon entity will attach themselves to you because you were on a different wavelength with your spirit, with your spiritual being. So once you're looped out of that entity is still attached to you at that wavelength. And when you go back down there, if you ever do, it's right there waiting for you. But it's still attached to you in that sense. So I'm just wondering if people are seeing what could be. And this
it very well could be. I mean, I can kind of get behind that because like you figure the 7 deadly sins, everybody's got some of those. I mean, everybody's got some kind of sin. Everybody's got some kind of weakness.
Gluttony. Sorry.
She was just doing a raise the roof. Like, you have no idea, Linda. She was literally like, "Yep, I got that."
I was thinking gluttony for myself, but then I had to go with lust because I like the boobies. So, but it's like we all have a personal demon.
We do.
I can kind of see that.
Yeah, it was a very interesting episode. Check it out.
That kind of fits in with what they're saying there. That it says the absence of the light means that we see the shadow, and that's just seeing the demon.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the interesting thing too was that whole wavelength thing, and it actually goes into on YouTube again. There's it's a channel called Spirit Science. It's very unique and interesting.
Yeah.
Where it has a whole nother unique outlook on life in general. Like it's apart from science itself, but it makes sense what they're talking about, and it's backed up with other scientific experiments and things like that. So when she was talking about spirit and the wavelengths that we emit as spiritual beings, Jeff would be just
rolling his eyes nuts right now.
But
we keep talking about Jeff. That's another co-host on Paranormal Palaver.
He's a little more skeptical.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's a great dynamic.
It's a good dynamic. You need that.
So, but it made sense to me because I'm like, I have been in some very dark places. I have not been there in a long time.
Yeah.
But I know that there was evil along with me, if you want to call it evil, through that dark time.
Yeah.
To the point where I was looking at myself in the mirror and not seeing myself. So it made sense to me.
I can see that. I think the more somebody gets into despair, the more these things will be attracted to that and attach themselves to that person.
Like the Bodox and Dean Koontz's Odd Thomas books.
You brought that up I still got to read that.
Yeah, they're such good books.
Well, another theory is demons themselves. That's what the shadow people are just demons.
Sure.
Would a demon turn around and run out of the room though?
No,
Would it notice
I see the demons as
at
being
you?
more threatening than just giving a feeling of of
I was
dread.
just saying that because maybe it made sense that they're seeing something that is attached to them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some of these cases are, and demonic, and others are just
possible.
what they are.
There's a researcher named Heidi Hollis that she theorizes that there is one Hat Man, just one, and that it is one of Satan's top henchmen.
Wow.
And
he's like Santa. He can just be everywhere at once.
Yep. Yeah.
Nope.
That kind of makes sense because I don't understand the Hat Man thing. So many
but
people.
Why does some
like
people
Brittany,
see one kind
Brittany
of
and
hat?
Devin saw him before they knew that
what
there was.
Hat Man was.
I was listening on the way here to a podcast where the guy was talking about it and said he saw it and he thought he would just go online to see if anybody else saw it. He couldn't believe how many people have seen this Hat Man.
Right.
Why would, if it were one Hat Man, why would he have one kind of hat on
I don't know.
for someone and another hat for someone else?
I don't know
That's
if it's
kinda
a
strange.
different species of shadow person.
Maybe he's
but
got like a little Hat Man squad.
he might be a little. Maybe it's a gang thing.
Oh my gosh. We can only hope.
But yeah, Heidi Hollis theorizes that there is one and that it is one of Satan's top henchmen. But then why does it, just come here to watch us sleep?
Right. And then run when it realizes that we spotted it.
Yeah, don't know. Another theory is interdimensional beings.
I like that one. The shimmering piece.
One of the
fits
theories that
that.
I heard on a podcast was that it's people who are astral projecting that don't realize they're doing it.
Oh.
Wow.
Like you're sleeping and your spirit temporarily leaves your body.
Yeah.
So are
Which is
they
kind of-
saying that it's themselves
They're
seeing
seeing
It's not
themselves?
themselves, but it's like somebody else
Okay.
that's astral projecting
Oh, and they're seeing someone else who's astral projected
that
into
are like
their
confused
room.
and don't know.
Wow.
When they're looking at the sleeping person, maybe trying to
This
wonder
is
if
in
that's
my
them.
room.
Yeah, yeah.
How did I get here? I don't put the bed on that side of the room.
So yeah, I thought that was interesting. I thought that was a really interesting theory.
Yeah, that is. That's a different take on it. That's for sure.
Also going in with that is time travelers, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. One of the podcasts, I think it was Blurry Photos, said that if it's us in the far future, time traveling, they said, wow, we must really miss sleep in the future because we just come and watch ourselves sleep.
Longingly.
Yeah.
That's how I
Oh, I
feel
miss
right
that.
now. I'm very sleep deprived.
And that guy gets up
stand-
to like confront the Hat Man, and he's like, "No, go back to sleep. I need
Can
your
you-
sleep."
Yeah, they're just like
Cuddle your
interdimensional
pillow?
or time traveling creepers watching people sleep.
Huh.
But the astral projection thing, I kind of like that.
I never would have crossed my mind. That's like
It kind of explains
that's a cool theory.
how they don't do anything physically to you. Although sometimes they do. Some people, but we'll get to that with another one. And of course, another theory: aliens.
aliens. Definitely.
Don't really buy that one.
aliens. No.
Aliens.
I could buy interdimensional beings
Yes.
a lot more than I could buy aliens.
Which aliens could be interdimensional
be.
beings, but I feel like they're different.
Another theory is that we somehow create it with our own mind while we're sleeping.
It could just be
Because
sleep
there's theories
paralysis.
that
Sleep
ghosts,
paralysis.
ghosts and spirits, that we can actually bring them into
What was
being.
that? What was that project?
Philip.
The
Wasn't it the Philip
project.
experiment
Yeah.
where
the
this-
yes, Philip experiment.
Yeah, this group of ghost hunters.
70s.
I don't know. They weren't ghost hunters. They were scientists, but they
Yeah, at a
they
university.
created this persona named Philip that they created a backstory for.
very detailed
A
backstory.
very detailed backstory, and they went to do an investigation where they were actually trying to conjure it, and they
were
actually
doing
had
seances,
things,
right? Yeah.
seances, and they actually had things happen. Like they willed this thing into being.
Yeah.
So
A
And
lot of that
that
has, of
goes
course,
back to
been
that-
debunked, but,
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've read
I think I
about that,
remember
actually.
reading that it was.
Well, that just goes back to me the consciousness, full consciousness of what we are here on Earth.
I think that our consciousness is capable of doing so much more than we do.
Oh, for sure.
But I
still-
think that we've lost the ability to do that stuff because
Right.
we're so reliant on external things.
Exactly. It still blows my mind that according to science, we use up to 30% of our brain.
Yeah.
What can you imagine what we would do if we used even 50% of our
evil
brain?
geniuses.
75%? It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it blows my mind.
But I think we damper ourselves. I think we damper our ability to do that.
right.
And that's what this theory is saying, is that that's that aspect of our mind creating something almost
Well,
like magic. It's like magic.
And I think there are a lot of people who think meditation can lead you down the path of learning how to utilize more of your brain. I think there's something to that, though.
Yeah. I meditated once and it was really cool, but I've only done it once. I did it for school.
I try.
I'm sorry. This is not funny, but the way you said it was like, dude,
I did that
I
once.
totally
It was, like,
meditated
so
once.
cool.
It was so awesome.
I have tried meditating
Dude, I don't
so
have
many
to
times.
meditate.
My mind is like always going 1,000 miles a minute.
Yeah.
And I'm so easily distracted that meditation is like,
Yeah.
if I could meditate, I'd probably just be able to sleep
We
better.
did it in high school in psychology class,
We
and it
did
was
too.
just so weird because the teacher he's done this like professionally, so he knows what he's doing. So we sat there, closed our eyes, and listened to him. And he's talking us through this, and then at the end he says, "Okay, it's time to open your eyes." And we were like, "It's only been 5 minutes," and then we opened our eyes, and a whole
like a
hour
half
had
hour,
passed. So.
Yeah, we did the
See, I
same
think
thing.
the
It was
thing-
in the library. We all had to lay down in the library in the dark. But we listened to a pre-recorded thing.
Oh.
And I remember that it was a woman like, picture a vase in a beautiful room, blah, blah, blah. And I remember distinctly hearing this guy whisper to the guy next to him, "What's a vase?"
That's a rich question. I mean, it really. How is
is.
he supposed to
And
concentrate?
that was me the whole time, just like listening to the sounds of the room. And like, I just have such a hard time.
See, but I think that's the
retreating
point, Krista,
inwardly.
is that if you were able to, which you are,
Sure.
that would settle something within you.
Oh, I'm sure.
That is.
We've had this conversation though before. I don't think I could be hypnotized, and
I don't.
Kurt can't be hypnotized.
For the same psychology class, the teacher took us to the tower at Lincoln High School in Manitowoc, and I was fascinated. I really wanted to be hypnotized, and we started doing it. And I started getting into a little bit, and then I just freaked out worse than I have ever freaked out in my life. Like I was struggling to get out of it. I was shaking. People around me were noticing. And
This is
I just have this weird fear
It's the loss of control
of
that
not
is
being in
terrifying.
control of my mind.
Yeah.
Sometimes the idea of going to sleep when I'm laying down at night freaks me out.
Yes.
Like,
oh my God. Yes.
I don't like the idea of giving up, and that's why.
Oh my God.
That's
yeah.
why people that say you should be careful on an investigation because you're going to get possessed. I
I
don't
don't
think I
see-
can.
yeah.
I think I can put up walls in my mind that I just have this weird fear of not being.
Me
in
too.
control
See,
of my
this
mind.
is really
Same
interesting
exact way.
because if we don't mind talking about this now,
No.
I don't believe being hypnotized.
Hypnosis.
Hypnotation.
Hypnotation. It's my new word.
Imitation.
Hypnotation. I don't believe hypnotation. I don't. Is that really real?
A lot of people think
I
it is.
think-
It's
I
used
think-
in true therapeutic settings.
And we were in the ghost hunting group with her boyfriend. I'm not sure if boyfriend or hubby, but he is
Who?
Ann Lemberger.
Oh, Lemberger.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
he
a
really?
he's a hypnotist, a hypnotherapist.
Oh.
See, I'd be willing to
I-
try this to see.
Ugh, not me. That just
I would want a
freaks me
very
out.
trusted friend to be in the room with me.
Sure.
I think there's a
because
big difference
I-
between real hypnosis and stage hypnosis. What you
Oh,
see
yeah.
where people pretend they're a chicken
Quacking like
well, I
yeah.
guess, yeah.
or pretend they've done it where a
But
guy
I mean,
is
people
supposed to pretend
do
he has
it
boobs.
to let go of like repressed memories and
Sure.
things like that.
Well, and I hear about that, but and then there's the movie The Fourth Kind, which has been proven to be not real.
Yeah.
So
Right.
for me, I'm like,
It's still a good
yeah.
movie though.
oh,
It's
excellent
such a
movie.
good
I don't.
that
I
movie
don't really buy like,
scared
the
me.
past life regression.
Yeah, we did a whole episode on that in Paranormal Palaver. I'm not sure how I feel about past
Yeah.
lives.
But yeah,
It's,
There's some
I've never
compelling
been a
evidence,
fan-
but
I've never been a fan of reincarnation.
No.
Not that
No.
it doesn't exist.
But there's
But I-
really compelling stories where like young kids
Oh,
give
sure.
like
Yeah.
a detailed description of something that they shouldn't know.
right, yeah.
I guess for me, I'm always like, I would not come back here if I was shown
That's
everything
why
else. Like,
some
I'm
people think that you possibly get a choice. You can either move on or you can come back.
Well, not only that, but if this
I wouldn't want to come back.
if this is not a flat Earth and this is truly,
Oh, God.
Oh, boy.
Don't even
Here
start
we
with the
go.
flat Earth stuff.
I had to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not a flat Earth theorist, by the way, for everyone out there in Radioland. And we were able to come back to Earth. I'd be like, no, I want to go to the other side of the universe.
I wanna
Yeah.
see
Why
something
do I have to
I've
come
seen
back?
this.
Yeah. So that's my take.
Well,
on
and the whole thing is
I
you'd
agree
have
with
to
that.
start over, and you wouldn't know that you were starting over, and you know.
it. Right.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't buy reincarnation either. I just don't.
I get it. It makes sense, but I'm it's just not logical.
I wonder if people who think they're having past life experiences are experiencing truly sort of that interdimensional thing.
It
the
could be.
whole another, slightly parallel
Yeah,
universes
it
bleeding
very
into
well
their
could be.
own, and they're picking
Getting
up.
into the Mandela effect.
Yeah, yeah, right. Oh boy, here we go.
And now this theory is interesting. I got an article to read for this one.
Great.
But this theory is a brain glitch.
Oh, I like it. Okay.
From the September 20th, 2006 issue of Science magazine.
Okay.
The article says, Neurologist Olaf Blanke found something by accident.
Build a snowman.
The Brain Mind Institute in Switzerland. Him and his colleagues were attempting to identify the source of epileptic seizures in a 23-year-old woman. They applied a mild current through surgically implanted electrodes to various regions of her brain. Not much happened until the researchers stimulated the woman's left temporal-parietal junction, or TPJ.
You did much better than hypnosis for me. So good job. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. Temporal-parietal junction, located behind the left ear. Suddenly, she
You
reported...
said it twice just to show off.
I did. Temporal-parietal junction.
I would too.
Okay, go on.
I'm going to call my new band that. The temporal-parietal junction located
Boom.
roughly behind the left ear. Suddenly, she reported feeling the presence of a mystery person behind her, a motionless and speechless shadow that imitated her body posture and actions. He lay beneath her when she lay down, sat beside her when she sat down, and attempted to take a test card from her when she tried to participate in a test card exercise. Such delusions are similar to those seen in patients with schizophrenia. Schizophrenics often mistake their own body as someone else's and attribute their own actions to others. They also have frequent illusions of being followed, controlled by a stranger, or being manipulated by aliens.
This is where I go back to, all right, fine, but is it really an illusion? Is this real?
I don't know. What gets me about this is that when they did this to this girl, the shadow she was seeing did everything that she did.
Sure.
Where it was like a mirror of her. Where
But
a lot
why
of these
did
shadow people don't do the same exact thing that the
Right.
person is doing.
It literally was like her shadow.
Yeah. That's why I kind of can't buy this one.
Or
Or
the shadow people that you are seeing are literally your shadow. Like, again, Peter Pan.
Yeah.
And in a normal instance, they're literally doing everything that you're doing, except for when the people report seeing them,
It's when they're sleeping.
they're glitching and they're
Maybe
separated.
they step away from you
I don't know.
that's possible. That is possible.
You know,
when you're sleeping.
This just for me, anytime there's a scientist who's like, oh, it was, they thought they saw this thing. And I'm like, great, but maybe it's like schizophrenics. Maybe they're actually seeing what's really going on.
Maybe they're hearing voices
That's
of things
why
that are really
I don't
there.
I don't have it on here, but one of the things that they said was that a lot of people that see the shadow people are sleep deprived.
Oh, wow.
But then that makes me wonder,
Sleep
are they seeing
paralysis,
something
again.
that they're making up in their head, or are they seeing something that's always there and
Yeah,
they're able
and
to
they're
see it
unlocked.
because
They've
and they're
unlocked something in
that
their
Well,
brain.
that's what I was
they
going to
can't
say
put up those barriers that they put
Sure.
up to see those things.
about the doctors who put the probe in her head. Maybe that triggered and unlocked something that allowed her to see what was there all
yeah.
along.
Yep. You can always look at that part of it. That I think
That's usually where my brain goes. I have a friend who unfortunately lost his mind for a spell, and it's always brought me back to that idea. We haven't talked much about it, and he got the help that he needed, thank God. But it's one of those things where I don't know. Were you seeing what I'm supposed to see?
Yeah.
You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah. Were you seeing something that's not there, or were you seeing something that's there that I can't see
That
myself?
the rest of us
Right.
can't
Yeah,
see.
I
And that would drive
totally
any sane
understand
person
that.
crazy.
Of course.
Yep.
Why wouldn't we're supposed to be seeing a 3D world, in a 2D realm? But like it's one of those, I don't know, it's absolutely bonkers.
It is mind-boggling.
Another theory was medicine. Some of these people are on depression medicine, anxiety medication, and they didn't say which one, but they said there was a commercial for some prescription that one of the symptoms it had on there was
Hallucinations.
visual hallucinations.
Yeah.
Some of those side effects, you're just thinking, I'd rather
I
have
know.
the illness
I
than
know.
deal with the side effects.
I know.
When you think about that, okay, sleep deprived, medicated, just waking up out of possibly a deep sleep,
Yep.
and you see something standing there. I've heard some of these stories say they felt paralyzed with fear.
Yep.
Were they actually paralyzed, like it was sleep paralysis?
And
Could
that
be.
goes to the last theory, which is the most popular one, is that it's sleep paralysis.
yeah.
Sure.
There's something called, I don't know if it's Gogic or Gogic, but there's hypnagogic hypnagogic hallucinations.
Episode 1, Paranormal Palaver.
Yes. Yep. I couldn't remember how you guys pronounced it.
Hypnopompic and
Hypnopompic,
hypnagogic.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, there is hypnagogic hallucinations, which is hallucinations while you're falling asleep, and there is hypnopompic hallucinations, which is hallucinations while you're waking up.
Which is the kind I've always had.
See, and
Hypnopompic.
I don't know if it's a hypnagogic hallucination, but I have this thing that happens like once every couple months where I lay down, start going to sleep, and I have this like weird. It's not like even a dream because I'm not seeing anything, but like me stepping off. It's always
I get
somebody's
that all the
front
time.
porch.
Yeah.
I'm stepping off somebody's front porch, and then there's no step below me, so I start to fall. My body
You can
shakes.
feel it.
Yeah, my body shakes, twitches really bad, and I wake up.
Yep.
That's
I have that happen all the time.
Yeah, I hate that.
I think you're just literally you have just fallen asleep
I
and
read
you're
that
already
what
dreaming.
happens is that you're falling asleep and it's your muscles in your body starting to relax, but for some reason it tenses up, and that's why you
like
do that
catch
shake.
yourself. Yeah.
You do that jerk where.
But
yeah,
you
that,
feel
or
that
you're taking
sensation.
a walk into the ether.
Yeah, yeah.
You feel that
You're shaking
sensation
away.
of falling, like in your
It's
gut.
weird because
it's
it
a
is
weird
like it is like
feeling.
a legitimate feeling that you're falling. Like mine is always somebody's front porch. I step off and all of a sudden there's no ground and I'm falling.
For me, it's a variety of
Is
scenarios.
the door red? Sorry.
He's thinking about it. Speaking of sleep paralysis, and shout out to Sherry at work.
Schmeyers.
She listened to, I think, the episode about the sleep paralysis for Paranormal Palaver, and she said to me, I never knew that I had sleep paralysis, but now after listening to that, I remember now that I did have that happen to me once.
And what was weird was a lot of the articles I read about the shadow people lumped the hag, the old hag, as with the shadow people.
Gosh. The old
And
hag.
that's the one thing what is the old hag? You
Well, it's just sort of like a folklore version of sleep paralysis where people, because a lot of times I don't have this happen where they feel like a pressure on their chest.
Yeah.
The theory is that this old hag is crouched on your chest on top of you, like
which is kind of what the
your
shadow
breath
people
or
are seen to
right,
do a lot
this
is crouch.
crouching figure. I've never experienced that, but I have seen plenty of things that weren't
I think
there.
my friend Sophie, I think has sleep paralysis.
Ugh,
But I've
not
never
fun.
understood why it's visualized as an old hag. I never
I think
understood why
that's
so
what-
many. I think it's the same as the Hat Man. Why do so many people visualize this same persona?
I feel like the old hag part, because it's called like the old hag syndrome, that's just the explanation people came up with back in the day because they had no explanation. They didn't have a scientific name for it, so of course they had to put some kind of scary figure behind it. When we talked about on Paranormal Palaver, it was the episode about Christmas.
Okay.
There were all these scary figures. Like each culture had their own,
And a lot of them were
scary
actually
figure that they came up with to keep kids
Were
in
similar.
line.
A lot of them were similar.
They had a lot of similar characteristics, but they were always that thing that the kids had to, you behave or this is going to get you. And
Yeah.
it was always like a way to keep the kids in line. And
That's basically what God is for adults.
sure, that's religion, baby.
Yeah, that's religion, baby.
That's religion, baby. Yeah.
I'm not saying the old hag is that same thing, but I feel like
But so many
it's-
people visualize it as an old woman. That's why
Right.
I'm
And
just
I
puzzled
don't.
that people see these things similar without knowing that other people are seeing this.
Right.
That's always fascinated me. But that
Yeah.
is one of the most popular theories of shadow
Sleep
people
paralysis.
is
That makes a
sleep
lot of sense
paralysis.
because you can see anything. You're dreaming, and so you're hallucinating, and it could be anything.
But I think that's such an easy answer for it. I don't know.
A doctor to say?
Well, yeah, I
Right.
mean,
It
a lot
is
of these
the-
people that
it's the
see the
easy
shadow
out.
people aren't sleeping.
It's the easy out.
You know, there's
for
people
sure.
that are watching TV and then they see something.
Well, what about the people driving their truck down the road? They
Yeah.
clearly were not having sleep paralysis.
That's a good point. And
so-
both of them saw it.
Yeah.
A lot of these have multiple people seeing them. There was one that I printed out, but it was way too long to read, where like 4 people in this family saw it through the generations.
Oh, interesting.
And it was always just sitting watching them, never
That is
moving,
interesting.
never doing anything.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just thinking back to myself, and it's like I've never had sleep paralysis. I've never, seen a Hat Man. I have a couple instances where weird things have happened, but like with doing these podcasts, I have been like, all right, bring it on. Let's do this. You know, I have a Ouija board at home, purchased it. Actually, I think Jeff got it for me.
He did. He bought it for
It's
you.
still in the wrapping because first off, I'm not doing that alone.
Or in your house.
Or in
please.
my
Don't
house,
do it in
because
your
I don't
house.
want to open anything up if it's actually true.
You
but
can do it here at the school.
I don't want to freak anybody else out here.
It's true.
You know, it's like
I've
too many
used-
people use this.
I've
place.
used them, but I've never closed them out. I didn't know that was a thing until recently.
Oh, jeez.
I told you about that when I was
When did
doing,
you start using them?
Wait,
when I was
wait, whoa,
young.
whoa, whoa,
I told
whoa,
you.
whoa.
So this could explain all the weird stuff that happened
No,
to
because
you.
I was older. I was like junior high school. This was like after the weird stuff when I was a kid.
Okay.
But I told you on your podcast, I believe I told you about when I did it with the Ouija board in my basement by myself. And
Did you?
Yeah. I said, is there anybody here with me? Who are you? And I did it, and it went to the letter D, and then it went to the letter U, and then K, and I'm thinking it's just gibberish. There's not going to be anything. And then it went to E for a Duke. And then I got freaked out and stopped because it actually spelled the name.
So how does this work? You have your hands on there.
Yeah.
Barely touching it.
Barely touching. And I get that. But as you by yourself, though.
It worked when I was doing it by myself.
People use it by themselves all the time.
Like when I went to the D and the U and the K, I was thinking there was nothing that it could be. And then all of a sudden it was Duke. So that was the one time that I did it by myself. It was only about another handful of times, but I
when was the last time you did it?
20 years ago.
Okay.
I feel like a Ouija board is no more dangerous than us going and asking, is there anybody here with our recorder? Because we're still asking
something.
That's a good point. You know,
that's true.
For me, though, again, to go back to that whole, spirit being talk that I had before, it's like I went through a very rough patch in my life, and it's like I have come out of that feeling much stronger as I will say a spiritual being, because that is what I believe. But it's almost like I feel like I walk into these situations that other people might be scared of, and I feel very strong, very full-minded, in these situations, especially after doing these podcasts. I don't know why. But it's almost like I'm not so much scared anymore. I'm more intrigued and interested.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a good thing.
You haven't had that one experience that shakes you to your core.
Well, and that like a physical in front of me.
Yeah.
I've had something that messed with me internally.
Yeah,
not
spiritually.
Not like I was turning my head and puking blood, but like where I was lost as a human being.
Yeah.
Turmoil.
Most of
turmoil.
like the thing I saw in my bedroom when I was a kid, that's was more or less what got me down the road for this stuff.
Sure.
But since then...
We'll talk about those experiences on another
episode. I can't wait.
Teaser.
Since then, it's more a fascination and not so much a fear. Like I brought up I think I brought up on Paranormal Palaver that my friend Aaron always laughs and says that stuff that I shouldn't be afraid of, I'm afraid of, but stuff that any sane person would be freaked out by, I go rushing into.
Yeah.
Like spending the night at Vicky's alone.
Yeah.
Well, see, when I had the spoon thing happen to me when I was a kid, that scared me to death.
Yeah.
Like I was terrified.
Tune in Paranormal Palaver to hear that story.
Yeah, I think there was maybe episode 2.
Yeah.
2 or 3.
It was one of the early ones.
Early
it was one of the
ones,
early ones.
Yeah. So, but again, that's where it's like as I've grown old.
Oh, Lord.
Old and wise.
The ripe old age of 31.
Oldish.
Oh, I remember 31
the
was
good
such
old
a good
days.
year.
Man.
Just turned 47.
Hey,
Shut up. 47?
47.
Damn.
People at work, when they found out, they're like, there is no way.
That is kind of crazy.
It is kind of crazy.
You've been up on 50?
I'm coming up on 50.
Wow.
How does that feel?
Sucks. It's like...
I had a moment when I turned 30. I was like...
30's blissful.
Oh, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Because I'm living it. But everyone who I knew was older was 30 or older.
Yeah.
Sure.
And, for me, I was like, am I ready to take this step off the porch and fall endlessly into the abyss of 30?
It scares me. I have
30
friends
is
that
the
I was in
best.
high school with that have heart attacks and died.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, there's me that I'm like, oh, family-sized pizza? It's gone. So
I do the
sometimes
same
I'm
thing.
surprised that I'm still here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to have you here.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Gotta
Good to be
say.
here. I hope I'm here for a
I'm
little
talking to
while.
myself right now.
It's okay, Krista.
Maybe you are. Maybe you're
Oh.
imagining us.
Oh, no joke. That literally did give me the chills.
Chills, just a little bit.
Because I love that kind of
Because
twisted
now
stuff.
we can be on like the whole path down the. Is this all just like a simulation? Are you guys?
I'm
Did
on
you
board.
guys hear recently? First off, what is his name? Ela.
Yeah, we talked about that on our
Uh,
episode
Elon
about
Musk.
reality.
I have an update on that. So
Oh.
he was
Housekeeping.
ripping on Facebook saying you guys don't understand what you're dealing with because he was they're messing with AI as well.
Yeah.
And he basically said, look, guys, calm down, slow your roll. And recently, I think within this week, they're two AI computers,
Yes,
were talking
yep.
to each other in a
Yep.
different language that we couldn't comprehend.
Yes.
Nope.
So they had to
Yeah.
shut them down.
Yep.
Nope.
I did see that.
No,
Blew my mind.
that gave me the chills.
Yeah.
because that's terrifying.
AI is one of those things that freaks the hell out
That
of me.
is terrifying.
No, I'm gonna stay, tucked back in the woods.
Off the grid.
as
We're
long
going
as I
off the grid,
can.
guys.
They're
This
not
is
putting
as
that
on
chip
the
in
grid
me
as
yet.
We're
No.
gonna get. We'll get a big
Two
antenna.
Unless
things
it's
that I
already in
think
me, I don't know.
should not be are AI and CERN.
Oh yeah, we
I
could
am
do a
not-
whole.
Talk about
not a
CERN.
Let's
not
do
a
a
fan
whole
of CERN.
episode on CERN.
I
I
love
am
CERN.
convinced that CERN is what caused the Mandela effect.
Ooh, CERN.
Maybe
I know we haven't
maybe
really
this
talked-
Hadron Collider thing happened way before they said it did, and
It
that's
could be.
what caused
Well,
the
CERN's
Mandela
been around
effect.
since World War II.
But
Could
they
be.
just recently, I mean, the
The
splitting,
Hadron Collector is
yeah, is
collector.
relatively recent.
Collider.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But I'm saying maybe they were successful with it years ago and
Yep.
never told anybody.
I'm not. Believe me, I'm not a fan of it, but I love the topic. Again, kind of
Yeah,
like the
it's-
Oh, I love
Illuminati.
the topic
That's
too.
right up
Yeah.
with Illuminati.
I think that's messing with something.
Save
they shouldn't
that
be
for
messing
another
with.
episode.
Just like you have to come for the. We should do a Mandela effect one too.
Mandela effect, CERN, Illuminati.
You guys invite me, I'll come. I'll come to any of these.
I mean, you live 2
episodes.
minutes away,
Yeah,
so you're
welcome
obligated.
anytime.
That's a good point. The problem is that I'm always working during this time.
I know.
Don't work.
But I want stupid work.
Stupid job.
I want to do one on the Mandela effect too. There's
Okay.
been some new ones, like the James Bond one freaks me out because that one, I totally,
Right, with the picture with the scientist standing there or
no,
sitting
no,
behind
but
his
that's-
desk.
No,
What?
No, you're
You
talking
know what
about
I'm talking about,
the
though,
CERN,
right?
The CERN video.
Right, and he's got it says Bond.
Yeah,
But
but the Bond thing is like the big Mandela effect thing right now, which
Go on.
Okay, we'll have a little
we
side
A
visit.
Krista, let
teaser?
us talk here.
A quick
Just turn your mic off,
for-
Krista.
for-
Let's talk.
for anybody that does not know what the Mandela effect is. It's the theory that things are changing like instantly, like something is just instantly different, and some people realize it and some people don't. The biggest one is the Berenstein Bears
Skippy peanut butter baby.
and Skippy peanut butter. I have
really
so many
makes
friends
me
that
so mad.
specifically remember Skippy
Yes.
peanut butter.
It was a thing.
I'm
I
sorry.
don't care.
So I have a Blink
Clearly I
182 album. It's the Mark, Tom, and Travis show. It's their live album.
Live album.
And in that album, Mark, it's Tom DeLonge is.
Tom
it is-
DeLonge's a big UFO guy.
Oh yeah,
right
he is.
now.
There's some stuff coming out.
yeah,
He's-
you
I'm
keep saying
really
that, but there's
excited.
like I'm waiting.
It was Mark, and he's making a joke because this is a vulgar album. And he's making a joke about the dog coming and he says, "Who likes the Skippy? Who likes the Skippy peanut butter?" He's licking it off the guy's nuts. But anyways, for me, I listened to that. I'm like, Skippy peanut butter.
Yeah.
Okay, what year was that album recorded?
Oh, geez, early 2000s.
It was one of the later ones they did with Tom DeLonge. So it had to be around that time.
Long before we were talking about the Mandela effect.
Oh yeah, long before then.
Seeing my man, well, we'll get into that. But the Mandela effect, the one I'm talking about right now, and I just had really weird deja vu, and I'm kind of freaked out. But
all right.
yes, but the one that's big right now is the James Bond movie Moonraker from the 80s.
Okay.
There's a bad guy named Jaws that has metal teeth,
I'm right there with you.
bites
so
through
far.
cables.
I've heard about this one.
Yeah. And at the end of the movie, he kind of falls for this girl.
Jaws does.
Yeah, and he becomes like a good guy. He
I've
falls
seen
for
this one time.
He
so
falls
I'm
for this
trying-
girl. And at the end of the movie, there's a spot where the girl smiles at him. And I remember this vividly because I remember seeing it in the movie, and so many people remember that when the girl smiles at him, she is supposed to have braces, which is where there's like a connection between the two of them because she has metal in her mouth too.
And he has
Okay.
metal teeth.
But when you watch clips of it, she does not have braces now. And people on YouTube are like so freaked out about this because people are like, I specifically remember her having braces because everybody's like,
That's what tied
that's so
them
cute.
together, right?
Yeah. Everybody says it makes no sense for her to smile
not
wide
have
like
braces.
that and not have braces. And people go back and look at like it wasn't like it was digitally done because people go back and look at original VHS tapes of that and she has no braces, but I remember her having braces.
I think that's the thing about the Mandela effect is that it's frustrating because it messes with something you feel like you've always known to be
Yeah.
true.
Right.
But
You know,
It makes you question
that's
things
the big
that you
one right
held
now
true.
because so many people now that were kind of like about it are on board with it saying no, there is something going on because she had braces.
It's Skippy peanut butter.
And peanut butter.
I had the conversation, this very same conversation with Jim Parker at work,
Oh yeah.
who is a pastor.
Yes.
And there's actually a lot of stuff in the Bible that has been changed around. And he's like, I completely believe in the Mandela effect.
Wow.
Some of the things I don't believe because, like, they can be skewed.
Yeah.
But he's like, I have read the Bible back and forth for years. he's always been a pastor, and he's like, there are things that
20
I
years he's
know
been a pastor,
that I
yeah.
have been reading that do not say that.
and then all of a sudden a word is different or something like that.
Or a whole subject matter is different,
Yep.
So,
And I'm convinced that CERN, the Hadron Collider, I'm convinced.
It does
But like
sound
you were
weird.
saying, there's a video that they made
yeah.
where,
what's this
where
video
a
about?
guy is holding, like,
He's a
there's this-
scientist, and he's got like a picture, or it's a picture of him, and does one of them say Mandela?
One of them says Mandela,
Oh, yeah,
and then there's
and-
like somebody holding a sign that says Bond.
Right, it's the same guy. It says
I've heard of
Bond,
this.
and then Mandela like behind it.
Yeah.
And isn't Bond's middle name Nelson? Because that's where the correlation
believe so.
is that it's Nelson Mandela.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
You
it's
have to look it up. It's all over
Whoa.
YouTube.
Yeah. I've
it out.
heard about this, but I don't know that I've seen
then
it. What
I-
is this picture from? It's from like...
No, it's
it's-
fairly recent. I mean,
Oh, it
since
is.
they kind of really made the push.
So they're kind of cracking a joke about
Oh,
it.
that's exactly
It's
what
like
it is.
in your face. We're flaunting
and that's
what
like
we've done.
the ritual video. Did you see
Oh,
that
man.
weird ass?
See, now, and that... sorry.
they
That
said
actually...
that was just scientists having fun.
right.
There is something. Did you,
I
do you
found
know
out
what we're
that-
talking about?
Wasn't
Wasn't there like some kind of ceremony?
Yeah, like they had like a satanic. This
Right.
guy is supposedly filming from a window above him, and you see a bunch of these scientists come out
In
with black
robes
robes
and
on,
stuff, yeah.
And there's a girl that takes off her robe, and
Whoa,
the
I
last
haven't-
thing you see is one of them like supposedly plunging a knife into her.
I've not seen that.
And then the guy that's holding the camera freaks out and he swears and runs away.
Yeah.
I have... Wow. We're eating peanuts here.
Joe's
got a
choking
nut
on some
stuck in my
nuts.
throat.
We've been there.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Things just took a turn. Go
So,
ahead.
anyways, there's a video of one of the tunnels getting opened up. Wow.
It's okay now.
One of the tunnels getting opened up, and they do this whole ceremony
Yeah.
with like,
What tunnel?
It actually wasn't in connection with. Well, it probably is in connection
Was that the one with
CERN.
the dancing? With like
The
the
Hadron
weird
Collider?
dancing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like people were saying that was like a satanic or an Illuminati ceremonial
Right.
dance. But
Check
it was
that
just
one out, too.
weird.
Okay.
It was a weird commercial.
We have really veered off the
Yeah,
path.
we have. We have veered
I
off.
kind of thought this was going to happen.
Shadow
with me
people?
jumping on-
Oh, yeah, we were talking
Shadow
about
people
shadow
to
people.
Mandela effect.
Yeah.
And one final theory for the shadow people.
Oh, great.
Oh, wow. Bring her back home.
They ain't seen nothing. They're just seeing shadows that aren't there.
Okay.
Well, that clearly isn't it.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's just
otherwise we have
people
no reason to
reading-
be
reading
here.
too much into seeing shadows
Sure.
in their bedroom.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of on board with the interdimensional beings.
Mm-hmm. That makes.
I don't see them as being purely evil
Or
things.
sleep paralysis.
It's from what everybody says. It sounds like they're just curious.
Yeah.
You know.
I
And it's
do
cool
love-
for them to go into some girl's bedroom and watch her sleep, but when I do it, they call the cops.
It's called stalking. Breaking and entering.
Sorry. I've lost it.
Kurt used to joke about setting up scaffolding outside my house to watch me inside. Do you remember how we used to joke about that?
No.
Have you ever
Mandela
seen
effect.
me-
So, anyways,
Yeah.
I really have fallen in love with the idea of ghosts being interdimensional
Yeah.
beings as well.
I do
where
too.
we are
I love
crossing
that theory.
planes and
And I know I've said it before. I think that's what aliens are. I think aliens are interdimensional. I don't think they come from a different planet.
I
if they
have
do,
always
if they
believed
do, they have a way to get here that's not a UFO.
exactly.
How do
I
you
have
explain UFOs though? Just
think a lot of
government,
UFOs are
experimental,
government.
experimental
crafts.
crafts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get into some more of that in the next episode when we talk about Area 51.
Nice.
Yeah, we're gonna have a
Oh,
guest.
That's gonna be a fun
Segue.
one.
Segue.
The guy who did our music,
My friend
Has he
Jamie.
been to Area 51?
No.
Oh.
Kurt's dad was.
Dad
though.
has. We'll talk about that next time.
Yes. I'm so excited. But I've always said that if an alien is going to come here, they have to either be using time travel or they're flipping dimensions.
Yeah.
Because there's no way in this vast universe
Well, but
You know.
maybe they have the technology.
through time travel or interdimensional travel.
like you said, the ghosts too. I think the ghosts can be the same. Ghosts are the same thing.
What about a wormhole?
That's
Interdimensional
basically
travel.
interdimensional.
I guess.
Sort of. I mean, unless they're in the same
So
universe.
light speed's not a possible thing.
No, it is a
given
possible thing.
the-
It just takes too long.
light speed takes too long.
Think about
The
it. Within
nearest
our,
star would take, I don't remember the exact figure, but to get here at light speed from the nearest star would even take
Hundreds
quite a
of
while.
years. or
years.
something.
years.
Okay.
Like ridiculous years. I said something stupid during Paranormal Palaver, go figure, where I was talking about just getting to like our sun, and I said like, years, but it was really like 8 minutes. But that's how fast, think about it. Yeah. 8 minutes for light to reach Earth.
Yeah.
8 minutes.
Yeah, I guess if you put it that
Blows
way.
my mind.
Yeah, like they said, if the sun goes supernova or something happens, we're not going to know about it.
For 8 minutes.
For 8 minutes, which is kind of creepy.
Yeah, it is kind of creepy.
And the stars that we're seeing now they said some of these stars that we're seeing now aren't even there anymore. They died out hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
Thousands years ago.
That's baffling.
That is baffling.
I mean, that's crazy. Sometimes I try not to think about our universe.
I watched, and again, I'm going to go back to the flat earth theory again.
Oh my God.
I absolutely despise the idea.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of conspiracy theorists out there who will say, Joe, you're not a real truth seeker and all this good stuff. But like, I just have such a hard time with it.
Yeah.
But once you do, I watched one video because I was like, okay, what is the deal?
Yeah.
And it didn't, I'm not agreeing with them. But again, it's very interesting to see how far these people have really dug into what it is. And then, of course, I sit there and think about, well, if this is a flat earth, what is going on up in that dome? You know what I mean? But
like they say, when you get to the end of the earth, there's a thing there that beams you to the opposite side instantly. So it seems to you like you're going. That's what the flat earthers say.
Oh my gosh!
That there's like things that teleport you.
That's insane. Yeah. I'm sorry.
I'm the guy that can buy the Mandela effect and can buy that reality is a computer simulation, but flat Earth, no.
I can buy a lot of things as well.
If you're selling that, I ain't buying it.
And I love it too. I'm like, okay, so gravity, and they're like, well, you are constantly. Flat Earth is literally, going up, just like. Constantly.
An elevator?
Yeah.
It's just an elevator?
Yeah, so we're stuck down.
What happens when we get to the top?
That's a rich question. I don't know.
I can seriously buy the hollow Earth theory more than I can buy...
I can buy that too.
Buy the flat Earth
theory.
have
kind of blown into that.
There's with the Antarctica stuff, that there's ways...
Blows my mind.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another episode.
I
haven't read into that enough.
Man, you got to see it other, Krista.
We've got our next 3
I love it too because I bring up
out.
the Illuminati with Krista and Jeff, and both of them roll their eyes.
So
like
it's glaze over.
I can't even talk to them about that, which...
I'm excited. Like I said, I think we should have a group one about the Illuminati because I'm on the fence about that one, and I kind of want to discuss it.
We have plenty of microphones. We'll figure it out.
This has probably become our longest show, hasn't it?
Oh,
An hour and 40 minutes.
Wow, this is our longest show.
It is. Yeah.
Nope, that's good.
Yeah,
that is
good. No, it's good. This is all good. Well, our listeners will let us know if this is good.
Yeah. I haven't talked to anybody about paranormal stuff in way too long.
Clearly.
So like a kid in a candy store.
I know, right?
I haven't really... I mean, sure, we're doing our other project at work, but,
it's not paranormal.
No, and not only that, but we are structured. We have this amount of time that we're able to talk. So when there's a microphone in front of me and I don't have a...
You need to bring in the people at work, say, do you have any paranormal stories?
We
and
do.
They say,
Jim Parker, that he talked about...
Yeah,
he's coming on Paranormal Palaver because he has had experience.
And not only that, but he gets into the Illuminati stuff too.
Conspiracy theories, big time.
Loves them.
When you get into some of the stuff with like Kesha's videos where she has like the pyramid and the
all
eye,
of the videos.
I
mean, look at Beyonce alone.
Yeah.
Look at Katy Perry.
Yep.
Have you seen Bon Appetit yet?
No, but I've read
I saw
that.
Check it out.
Yeah.
And the hand signals that people do.
I mean,
I don't know.
Pizzagate alone.
I could be convinced with the Illuminati stuff, but I think if somebody's running this,
you think about missing 411. I mean, believe me, I think it's something not human that's doing these things personally. But you think about the amount of people that go missing, and then you think about the Illuminati and the satanic type stuff that goes on there. Yeah. It's like, ooh, is this stuff correlated? Because so many people go missing. Hunter S. Thompson, who has been quoted in saying that every October there's basically like a human harvest.
Yeah.
For these satanic rituals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep your eyes bulged out of your brain there, buddy. It's like,
okay. I've never
sorry,
heard
again,
this.
to digress, but we got started. I will stop now.
Yeah, I'm excited about the Illuminati stuff because I kind of want to research that too. I've never really, like I told Krista, I said there's all this stuff that I want to look into, but when I have a choice between that and Grand Theft Auto 5
wins every time.
So doing the podcast is making me research this stuff, which is just fascinating and awesome to do.
Yeah. The Illuminati really goes. I mean, it is a rabbit hole. It
Yeah.
is not only a rabbit hole, but it's mixed with wormholes. It's mixed with ferret holes. It's mixed with meerkat holes. I don't know. It goes
Not the meerkats.
everywhere. It is nuts.
Yeah, it is nuts.
Yeah. There was a thing on.
You're a skeptic, Illuminati skeptic.
She is.
I'm an agnostic.
It's not
I'm
that
on
I
the fence.
don't think the Illuminati is a real thing. It's that when I hear about this is what they're doing and this is what they're doing, I'm like, really? I don't know. I just have a hard time buying into
What
the
I would
fact
like to
that
get into
so
at
many
some
people.
point, we're talking about Katy Perry and Britney Spears and all that, is the MK Ultra stuff and that and,
Yeah.
Monarch programming, where these girls like Katy Perry, Britney Spears are programmed.
Yep.
Interesting.
You know, there's a lot of evil.
Brittany almost self-destructed there.
Yeah,
for a
and
little
they
while.
say that's when their programming is starting to falter. That they're
Look at what's happening to Katy Perry right now.
Yeah, she
Look what
just
happened
cut her
to
hair really short.
yeah
oh jeepers, Miley Cyrus.
yeah.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Amanda Bynes.
Amanda
she
Bynes.
went way off her rocker.
I mean,
That-
Part of that
these-
is just the pressure of
that
being
these,
a child.
lot of,
Sure.
in
you
the
know,
media.
going with the Illuminati stuff, a lot of people say that these girls, when they're unbelievably young, are sex slaves for
Yep.
the Illuminati, and there's a lot of.
well, think about Disney and Club 33.
I was just gonna say Disney. There's stuff with Disney where that's, you know, we could talk about that with Jamie because Jamie's a Disney expert when he's here next week.
Okay.
The thing I think that really frustrates me with any of these types of conversations is how people automatically are like, nope. And my question is,
It's because I
Is
don't
it-
want to believe it.
yeah, is it because
it's
it's not
horrifying.
believable, or is it because you don't want to believe
That's
it?
kind
It's
of how I
because it's
was
horrifying.
with the.
When it comes to pedophilia,
That's
Oh,
what I was just gonna
that's
say.
horrifying.
And it's
You know,
rampant.
Because they're
It
talking
is
about
rampant.
they're talking about the government having like planes that have
It's rampant, guys.
you know young kids on them that they said Clinton used to
Oh, geez.
frequent these all the time, where these
There's some
these
great.
high political power people have like these
why
pedophile.
are they all pedophiles? I don't get it.
A lot of it, some of it is satanic stuff. Some
Some
of
of
it
it's
is
just power trips.
is power trips, but
I don't know. I
the
think
more
it
that
takes
I-
a certain
and-
kind
Have
of
you heard of
person
Boys
to do
Town?
that, though.
Look that up.
Probably. I
Just
don't
look
know.
that up.
yeah, there's weird pedophilia stuff going on with Hollywood and with government, with big like.
I feel so sorry for the listeners because
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of rabbit holes, y'all just got sucked down one pretty.
Those will be topics
pretty
for another
deep.
show.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But again, it's been great. I don't know if we are wrapping this up. I
We
would
probably
say
should.
Wrap it up.
My husband's probably like, she
I
would have
think
been home
the
a half
sun's
hour
almost,
ago.
sun's almost coming up.
Yeah, right.
It was awesome having you here. It really was.
Yeah.
This
Glad
was a
you popped
blast,
in.
and I
Popping
really
in.
appreciate you guys having me. And I think you guys are doing phenomenal work.
Thanks.
Thank
So,
you.
so keep it up. And from what I can read for comments and things like that, it
Yeah,
seems like
people
you
are
have
people
lots
are
of
liking
people
it.
enjoying it. So
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
yeah,
We're enjoying it.
it's been fun. I can't wait to listen to others.
Yeah.
because
Thank you so much for coming.
it is. It's a blast to sit down, like I said at the beginning, and really. You hear Dave Schrader and then other people, talk about all these topics, but then to get someone else's perspective, but also you've done the research,
Yeah.
and that has to be, it's respected that you're doing the research, it's not
Yeah.
just like you're coming on here like, this is the soapbox I'm on, and this is
Yeah.
what I believe, not that anybody else is doing that, but I think you're
It's
doing this
easy
the
to
right
do,
way.
though.
It is.
Well, and so we're starting to plan season 2 of Paranormal Palaver, so you'll have to come join us on that.
Yeah,
I
Kurt,
would
get
love to.
on.
I would love
Yeah.
to.
It's going to be awesome.
I think we have more EVPs we could share and stuff like that. So
I am excited.
I mean, just conversations too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're cool to have.
Illuminati talk. He's got me on this Illuminati stuff now.
Dude, it's nuts.
Okay,
Jeff is just
guys.
he's gonna shut down. He'd
Yeah.
be like, you guys are
he'll
dumb.
fall asleep.
He's
He's
like,
literally almost fallen asleep while I was talking, so I can see that happen. Like literally, I look at him and his eyes are closed.
Yes.
Hopefully you're still with us. If you are,
Thank you.
you should get a medal. So thank you so much for listening.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe, for coming here. It was awesome having you.
Thanks
Had a
for
good
having
time.
me. It was great.
And you'll be back.
I
Yep.
hope so. Yeah.
If there's ever a topic that you're interested in, we'll let you know ahead of time what we're talking about. If
Yeah.
it's one that you don't like, if it's one that you do like, you're welcome to stop by.
Sounds good. Hey.
It's always nice having a third person. It's kind of like thinking sideways. 2 guys and a
Yeah.
girl.
Ooh, kinky.
Ooh, oh boy. This is going to have to get
Sorry.
labeled as explicit now.
Like,
Yeah,
I
thanks,
said the word
Krista.
kinky.
Jeez.
Joe choked on a nut before, and nobody said
God,
anything
those
about
nuts.
that.
Ugh.
Well, on that note,
On that note, Joe, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
And from Krista and I, we'll see you next time. And
until then,
until then,
stay strange.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.